Welcome back. A couple of cases show up in one place, and suddenly you're seeing airport screening, health alerts, and that familiar feeling in your stomach. It looks like an overreaction, until you remember how fast small can become everywhere in a connected world. Today we're talking about Nipah virus, a disease that's usually hard to catch, but terrifyingly serious when it hits. So you've probably seen the headlines. Just a couple of cases of Nipah virus pop up, and suddenly entire regions go on high alert. And you have to wonder, why such a massive response for such a small number of people? Well, the answer isn't panic. It's actually a very calculated, rapid response plan designed to get way out ahead of the virus before it even has a chance to spread. Okay, so what exactly are we dealing with here? Let's break down what the Nipah virus actually is. At its heart, Nipah is what's known as a zoonotic virus. Now that's a sciencey term, but has a really simple meaning. It's a disease that can jump from animals to people. And this is a pretty common pattern for a lot of the new infectious diseases we're seeing pop up around the world. The natural home for Nipah, its main reservoir, is the fruit bat. What's kind of wild is that the bats can carry this virus and not even get sick. But when it spills over into humans, that's a totally different story. That's when it can cause a really severe illness, attacking the respiratory system. But the main danger, the most critical target, is the brain. Now, to really get a handle on the kind of threat we're talking about, it really helps to compare it to something we all know very, very well. So let's see how Nipah stacks up against COVID-19. And right here, you can see the fundamental difference. COVID-19, as we all remember, spread like wildfire. It was incredibly efficient, often moving through the air between people who didn't even feel sick yet. Nipah is different. It almost always requires very close physical contact to get from one person to another. This leads us to the most important takeaway of all. COVID was easy to catch. Nipah is usually hard to catch, but can be much worse for the patient. And that's really the bottom line here. Public health experts aren't worried that Nipah is going to cause some kind of global shutdown like COVID did, because it just doesn't spread that way. They are so vigilant because when an infection does occur, the consequences for that individual can be just catastrophic. It's the severity, not how easily it spreads, that drives this massive response. So if it's not spreading easily through the air, then how exactly does Nipah make that leap from bats to people? Let's trace the path. The journey is usually a three-step process. First, you have the fruit bats, the natural reservoir, contaminating something in the environment. A classic example from past outbreaks is raw date palm sap, which is a popular drink in some parts of the world. Then, a person drinks or touches that contaminated source. That's the spillover event. Finally, if that person becomes very sick, the virus can spread to other people through close contact. Most often their family members or the healthcare workers caring for them. Let's be super clear about this. Human-to-human spread isn't happening just by walking past someone in a grocery store. It requires direct, close contact with the body fluids of a person who is actively and severely ill. This is why hospitals and homes become the key places where transmission can happen. So what does this virus actually do once it gets inside the human body? Understanding the symptoms is really key to understanding the danger. The illness often starts with very general symptoms, things like a fever, headache, and muscle pain, which can make it really hard to diagnose right away. From there, it can go in two main directions. Some patients get severe breathing problems, but the real hallmark of Nipah, the major red flags, are neurologic. We're talking about sudden confusion, extreme sleepiness, and seizures. These neurological symptoms are caused by something called encephalitis. It's basically a severe inflammation or swelling of the brain. This is the complication that everyone fears with Nipah, and it's the reason it's so often fatal. And that brings us to the stark reality of this virus. In some outbreaks, the case fatality rate has been as high as 75%. And for those who do survive a severe case, many are left with long-term, lasting neurological problems. Okay, that sounds incredibly scary, I know. But here's the good news. We have a very clear and a very effective playbook for how to stop a Nipah outbreak right in its tracks. The strategy is built on three main pillars. First, you isolate the sick patients immediately. That breaks the chain of transmission. Second, you trace every single person who had close contact with that patient and you monitor them for symptoms. And third, you protect healthcare workers with really strict safety protocols and what we all now know as PPE, personal protective equipment. Each step is designed to build a wall around the virus. But none of this works without one crucial tool: fast and accurate lab tests. The ability to quickly confirm if a sick person has Nipah is what lets that whole public health machine, the isolation, the tracing, the protection, to kick into high gear immediately. So what about the future? How are we getting ready for the long-term threat of a virus like Nipah? While the scientific community is working really hard on this, there are several promising vaccine candidates in different stages of development. New treatments are also being tested, including things like monoclonal antibodies, which are lab-made proteins that can help your body fight off the virus. But maybe the most important strategy is expanding something called One Health surveillance. One Health is a simple but really powerful idea. It's this recognition that the health of people is completely connected to the health of animals and our shared environment. So in practice, this means actively monitoring bat populations, changes in how land is being used, and other factors to try and spot the risk of a spillover before it can even happen. So, after all of this, what is the most crucial point to remember the next time you see Nipah in the news? The goal of all these public health alerts is to keep us informed and careful, not to make us afraid. For the vast majority of people, even in an area with an outbreak, the direct personal risk is extremely low. Understanding how it spreads is the key to having that perspective. And this brings us to the final, and maybe the most important point. The single biggest danger in a Nipah outbreak is an early case being missed or misdiagnosed. That's how transmission chains get started. So when you see a fast, strong, and very visible response to just a handful of cases, don't see it as chaos. See it for what it is, a sign that the system is working exactly as it should to keep everyone safe. It leaves us with a critical question for our modern world. As we become more aware of these rare but serious threats, how do we build systems that can act decisively without creating a culture of constant fear? Let us know what you think. And if this was helpful, comment, like, and subscribe. There's a full audio podcast episode on this topic. Check the description/channel page. Stay well, stay curious, and see you on the next one.